story too, I would want to tell their story, you know? Mm-hmm. Like the story of Luis's Nana, who had 4 sons. Do you guys remember the X Factor series, Boys, whatever it was called? Should be like.
Well, you know, you could also.
What?
So you know
you
how.
You mean like the rest of the story?
You know how the Pillar does occasionally the reporting on like, you know, crazy scandalous things too?
Okay.
You could do a scandalous episode where it's not necessarily a saint, but like, who's that?
Chichi Maragda?
Yeah.
You want me to do a whole backstory on Chichi Maragda?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I would write her a letter and be like, Chichi, tell me about all of your amazing handbags. I would like to be your spy. I am self-taught. The balls on that woman. I'm so proud of her.
This is what I'm saying. See? Imagine how entertaining that podcast
Chichi
would be.
Maragna. Actually, it's Cece Maragna because she's from New Jersey.
Anyway, that was my idea. I pitched it to Katie. She's kind of on the fence.
Okay, he says I'm on the fence because I didn't immediately go get out a microphone and just start talking into it. Like, he's like on the driveway going, Katie, this is a great idea. Babe, we should do this. Babe, right now. Like, what would you call it? How could we host it? How do you do a podcast? Can you text your friend and ask him what the podcast, like how you make a podcast?
I don't want to be involved in it other than being the merch guy.
Chichi who? It's actually Cece Maragna, which is not really her name. Her name is Cecilia Marogna. It's spelled M-A-R, like Maragna. Sound out Maragna is how you spell it. And she's implicated in the current Vatican financial scandal where they purchased a building in London and also stole some stuff from an Italian hospital. Effectively, it was basically some cardinals in the Vatican making terrible financial decisions and then strange unnamed people benefiting a whole lot and probably kicking that money back to the cardinals. And around that same time that they were doing this, the cardinal who was put in charge of doing investigating what's up with the Vatican's finances, he was like, hey, we're going to have an audit, and the Secretariat of State, which is like the bad guy in this story, basically. They canceled the audit. They're like, no, we're not going to do that. That would be like, you know, if the IRS was like, hey, we're gonna audit you, and you're like, no, thank you, and you canceled your own audit. That's what it was. And then once people started poking around into what they were into, that cardinal, his name is Cardinal Pell, was arrested on completely fabricated charges of child molestation or child endangerment or whatever, and he was convicted and went to jail in Australia for a long time. And then it turned out that like there was absolutely no evidence, and the Australian Supreme Court completely overturned his conviction and let him go. But around the same time, there's also evidence that same crappy D-bag, I can't say that he's a cardinal, but the Secretary of State was paying off somebody in Australia. So you're like, oh, you're the guy who has oversight over my financial dealings, and suddenly you're in jail on completely fabricated charges, and also we've been paying off the police in Australia.
See how good she would be talking about this kind of stuff?
Not very good.
See what I'm saying?
But anyway, Cece is involved in that, not the thing with the cardinal in Australia, but rather she went up to the Secretariat of State at the time, and she was like, hey man, would you like me to spy on some people for you? And he's like,